Got a Switch 2 rumor here for you today. But you know what? Switch 2 rumors, they feel a little better now, don't they? I mean, like, I know that, like, the reveal, it didn't really give us a lot that we didn't already know. But for some reason, just somehow, the fact that it's all confirmed, it's real, it's official, it's announced, it's coming. I don't know. Just makes it feel a little more legitimate. It feels like we're, like before we were just like grasping at straws here. I don't know. I have renewed confidence. I went through a very brief period of time where I was like done with the rumors, but something about just seeing the console for real. I don't know. I guess I'm good with rumors again. I guess I'm good with Switch 2 rumors again. Because now it's a thing. Now it's a real thing. It's not just pure speculation. Not just pure rumors, you know what I mean? So let's rumor it up. A while back, there was a rumor where people were giving they were throwing some numbers around about how many units Nintendo might be producing at launch. I believe it was somewhere around like estimating like 6 or 7 million units at launch, which was a heck of a lot more than they produced for the launch of the original Switch. And so if that was true, then that was indicating that, Nintendo was just preparing for a much, much bigger launch and potentially an even bigger launch year than the Switch had. And the Switch did have a very good launch. Like they were selling out. The first year was very successful. It went very, very well. And so now Nintendo really, they're trying to keep up that momentum, and they're looking to carry that momentum into the next generation, start the Switch 2 off on the right foot. And now we have another report, rumor, what have you, that sort of corroborates that idea. According to a Bloomberg report. Okay, that's a rumor right there. Bloomberg report. That's the kind of rumor you want to hear. The kind of thing where you go, oh wow, if Bloomberg said it in a report, then it must be true. According to Bloomberg, Nintendo is preparing to sell more than 20 million units of the Switch 2 in 2025. And that is a really, really big number. It really, really is because yeah, if even the idea of them selling 7 million at launch, if that was like, oh wow, that'd be crazy. And if they sold through, that would probably be the fastest selling console in that period of time, like basically ever. But when I first saw this 20 million plus number, like the first moment, my knee-jerk reaction, I was comparing it to the launch of the Switch, which launched relatively early in the year. And I'm thinking like, okay, so like, selling 7 million at launch. And then of course you're going to get like the biggest spike right there at launch. And then it's going to kind of go down. It's going to level out. And then you'll see another spike at the end of the year, another like really big several million chunk there. I'm like, okay, I suppose that makes sense. And then wait a minute. No, the Switch 2 is launching like halfway through the year. At least we're very, if the big direct is in April, I think it all but guarantees June. I think May is still technically a possibility, and July is of course a possibility, but that would be even crazier. I think June is like the very, very earliest that we are going to see the Switch 2. And if Nintendo intends to sell over 20 million units in the first year when they are launching halfway through the year, that is big. That is really, that would be an unprecedented level of sales. That would be really, because like pretty much with any console, it's great if you can have like the runaway success, your Switch, your DS, your Wii kind of thing, like, pushing up past 100,000 or whatever. But like generally speaking, even like 100, or even kind of like approaching 100, like if at the end of the generation Nintendo sold like 100 million units of the Switch 2, that would, from like an investor standpoint, that would definitely be like disappointing. You don't ever want to see less, you always want to see growth. It's always growth mindset. You always got to sell more and more every time. But like, I don't know. As far as the industry goes, I feel like any console selling 100 million, that is still a really, really good success. So the idea that they could sell like 1/5 of that or more within just a half year, like the first half year of the system's life. If they managed to do that, then I suppose that would indicate it was most likely that the Switch 2 would end up selling a lot more than 100. Maybe it would. Maybe it will end up selling as well, if not better, than the original Switch. I don't know. I'm still slightly doubtful. I feel like the Switch 2 is definitely going to be a success. I could just see it doing not quite as well, but we really don't know. And, you know, console generations are very long. We don't know where trends of the industry are going to go and whatnot. And it's funny because when I was reading this, I was like, oh, no, wait, of course. They're not talking about just 2025, right? They're just talking about in its first year, in its first calendar year. But no, I do believe they are saying in 2025. They're expecting to sell 20 million units plus in 2025. And so yeah, if that did happen, then yes, that would mean the Switch 2 is, yes, perfect. It's going to be wildly successful. Absolutely. But even if it doesn't end up selling that much, if it is true that Nintendo intends to sell that much, then that suggests that they are producing that much. You know what I mean? Because, like, that was the whole thing with the story on them producing around, 7 million units for launch. It's not necessarily a guarantee that they will sell that many, but even just the idea that they are going to produce that many so that it is available to be sold in those numbers, and, basically everyone who wants to buy one is going to have access to one, that itself is already a really big deal, because one, that's just good. That's just good for people who want to buy it and don't want, all the units to get scalped or whatever. But it also suggests a tremendous amount of confidence from Nintendo. They really do believe that the success of the Switch is just going to carry over to the Switch 2, and they are just going for it. They are just absolutely going for it. So I don't know. I don't know how, I have no idea at all. Like the manufacturing process, I don't know how long it takes to manufacture these things. I don't know, like, at what point do you take the numbers that you've been selling and kind of get an idea for the demand, and then I don't know, you put in an order for the new units, and then like how long does that process take? How quickly can you adjust those numbers? I don't know. Are they just like, no, we're gonna manufacture 20 million in 2025, and that's it, and we're just gonna hope that they sell. And if they don't sell, they'll stay in the warehouses. Or if they do, they're going to just keep pumping out to the stores. I really don't know how that works. But if they have any plan whatsoever to manufacture that many, that's incredible. Which would be absolutely nuts. And, like, that's a big risk. It really is. If that's the sort of thing that they need to commit to now, and they need to get those units manufactured now, if it's not possible to, like, course correct and kind of like, oh, maybe we shouldn't make so many because it's not selling that well. I don't really know, but, like, I don't know. It could be a big risk for them to make this many. If the demand ends up being quite not as high as they think it's going to be, and now suddenly you have a really big supply, and now they're like flooding the shelves and there aren't enough people to buy them, then that's not necessarily a good look for the company. That could have an effect on its stock prices and whatnot. And I don't know. I don't think I foresee that happening. I do think there's going to be a pretty darn good demand for the system, especially if they have some really good games within the first year. We're definitely going to get a Mario Kart. If not at launch, then definitely within the first year, and that's going to sell units like absolute crazy, especially if the game has some big new hook, and it really does feel like a big evolution of Mario Kart. And then if you throw 3D Mario in there, like it is going to be a really good first year. I really have no doubt. Every time I say I don't know if the Switch 2 is going to do as well as the Switch, I don't mean it's going to like fail in comparison. I just mean Switch was lightning in a bottle, and the industry itself and the audience has all changed so much. Things just change, and so you just really never know what's going to happen. Back when the Switch launched, Nintendo was in a worse position. They had there was just overall less brand awareness of like Nintendo and its products, but at the same time, the Switch itself was such a novel idea. The idea of having these more or less home console experiences on the go, that was a thing that is just less novel of an idea now. Now we've got all sorts of other similar things for like playing PC games and whatnot. And now the other, Microsoft and Sony are looking into more handhelds, and it's not as unique of an idea anymore. And of course, the Switch 2 is a very safe iteration of the Switch. So now it's like it comes down less to the novelty and more to the brand loyalty, the number of people who got a Switch and were just so happy with it that they are confident buying the new thing, or just people who, obviously the software. It comes down to the software. How good do the games look? That was another reason the Switch sold so well. It wasn't just the home console hybrid thing. It was because they had the biggest, coolest looking Zelda ever, and like a really big new Mario and a Mario Kart that already existed technically, but it was on the Wii U, and they didn't want to buy a Wii U, but they were happy buying a Switch. So I don't know. I guess I'm sorry, I'm rambling. It's my job to ramble, but we really don't know what will happen. But I don't know. The idea of them expecting to sell 20 million units plus, if it's true that that's what they're saying. It's Bloomberg. I think it's paywalled, but like I'm just reading articles about it. It sounds like they're saying in 2025, if they could sell 20 million units in like 6 months, that would be a thing. And I don't know. I guess technically we don't know what the price is yet. It is technically possible that Nintendo could price it so high because they're so... we've seen them mess up because of their overconfidence in the past. That's what the Wii U was. And then even like the 3DS, it launched because there was a lot of hype around it before launch. So then they priced it way, way, way too high, and that killed early sales. It's technically possible they could do something like that with Switch too, but I think they've probably learned their lesson. I think, and there's even articles going around, people, trying to talk about what price it might be. Pretty much the overwhelming majority of people say it's probably just going to be 400. I think everyone kind of agrees 400 is the right price. But, there are some analysts that are like, oh, it could technically be higher because they know they have an audience, and the early adopters will pay anything, and that's generally true. The people who buy at launch are the hobbyists, the loyalist fans. They'll pay basically whatever. And they could always lower it later, but that's really bad. That's really bad PR. They don't want a 3DS situation again. They don't want to have to lower it later. It's kind of embarrassing. So I don't know. Technically possible they could price it so high that ends up affecting year one sales, but I don't think I see it happening. I think it's probably going to be 400. So yeah, Switch 2 rumor. Yay!